You guys want to get ready with me? How are you doing today? Everyone, how are you? What is today? Today's Thursday. Is it February 7th? Uh-oh, I'm going to knock this over. I have this balancing. And February 6th. So I got my coffee because there's never enough coffee in the whole world. How you guys doing? Is there anything new and exciting in your world this week? I tried to do a day in the life kind of thing yesterday. And it didn't, this is just water. It did not work out the way I wanted it to. It kind of ended up a lot like that those videos that I did for the 30-day experiment, which I am wondering now if that's why they were so bad. Besides the fact that I wasn't medicated. So, what are your plans for today? Today is Thursday. I promised you guys that I would do a video every week. So right now, my clock's like fallen. I'm such a cliche. It is 12:30. My goal is to each day get ready a little faster. Yesterday, I was a hot mess all day. I tried to record me getting ready to see how quickly I could do it. And it quickly devolved into me talking to the camera, having hangout coffee time with you, even though I haven't edited it down to make it actually watchable for you guys. And so I spent a good portion of yesterday uploading it to my editing app, and then just sorting the get ready with me part from the hangout, have coffee part, and I don't even know if any of it's even watchable. So here we are. So I haven't decided. This morning I was reading from my ADHD magazine that I was telling you guys, and I've been wanting to read it for a while. And I kind of got triggered. And it was basic stuff. So that should not have happened. Just like the way they were wording it. They were wording it like refuses or doesn't appear to listen. How about can't pay attention? Because they were talking about kids, the signs. Like what are the symptoms for kids to know they might have ADHD? I'm just grabbing my curling iron. Ooh, are you guys sugar addicts? I have to look up the link between ADHD and being addicted to sugar, because I know there is one. I just found something. I found my gummy bears. That's so bad. Oh, this is probably loud. I'm sorry. So, what things do you guys do for your ADHD? Have you tried any dietary changes to see if that helps you? I've been starting to walk every day. Do you have special interests? What are your special interests? I've gone through so many different phases, and one of the things is I used to be a beauty department manager, and I didn't know about special interests. But I did geek out over it. And of course, it wasn't good enough for me to just learn about skincare so I can sell it, or learn about cosmetics so I can sell it. I wanted to learn more and more and more and more because I want to understand everything. And its problem. Although, when I have complaints or questions about the validity of something, maybe that's good. So what I saw when I was reading this article today in one of the 3 ADHD magazines that I have, it was talking about the symptoms, but they still word everything according to behavior, which I have a problem with. I don't think they realize they're doing it. Of course, that's how you pick up on it, is a behavior being different. And that's why women tend to go undiagnosed. We are conditioned to behave more, I believe, unfortunately. So behaviors aren't tolerated in girls, certain behaviors. You are told to be ladylike. I don't know these days, you know, it's been a while for me. Girls are supposed to be ladylike. If a girl tells somebody off or gets in a fight, it's not tolerated the way it is with boys. Not that anyone should do that, but I'm a Gen Xer, so I think they tolerated a lot less back then. Anyway, yeah, one of the things that they wrote in the magazine is that they were talking about why some kids don't get diagnosed. And they said, well, it depends on the culture. I agree. Some families do not, and they said just that. Some families do not accept girls to act out, but boys will be boys. I'm like, well, that's the culture here. I don't know nowadays. Is it different now with girls? Do they allow them to act out the way that boys seem to get a pass sometimes? Not that that's okay for anyone. I mean, obviously you don't want kids learning that it's okay to be like violent or anything. Yeah, it's such a different world these days. I have my sister-in-law works as a teacher, and yeah, I don't even know how much to get into with that one. That'll be its own video. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. Kids can just like walk out and not participate. I remember when I was in school, God, I sound like the old people when I was young. When I was a kid, we didn't have a school bus. We had to walk 13 miles in 3 feet of snow, and you weren't allowed to get sick. And we had to chip the frozen well to get water to wash our clothes. Sorry. I will say, like, if you go back a generation, my father was really inspired by his dad, who stayed up all night keeping the wood burning stove on to keep everybody else warm, which is amazing. We take for granted the stuff we have these days. Heating. So what would you guys like to talk about today? I was trying to think about what I wanted to share with you. I combed through one of the videos I did. I think I got out any kind of important points out of that I could. I think if I try to take in, those shorts came out really good. I'm really happy with them. A lot of my videos are affected by my symptoms. So what ends up happening is I will talk in circles. I will think of something that reminds me of something, and I'll start talking about that, which will just get distracted. So I never really, then I come back again, and I do talk about things that are important. So I think me going back, even though that ended up being incredibly time consuming for me, that longer video that I took the clips from, took me 45 minutes to record it. I did cut some parts out, so it wasn't too bad. And then it took me like maybe somewhere between 3 and 5 hours that night of cutting things out and putting it together. And then the next day I worked for another couple hours on it. I think it's like that 1 40-minute video took an extra like 5 to 8 hours of editing. I don't even know if that counts what I did for the shorts. And I didn't even mean to add all those graphics, but now I'm actually really glad I did. And I think that my own distractibility actually helped me in that regard, because when I was playing it back, I'm like, I can't even pay attention. And I know that what I'm talking about is important, but I went from thing to thing to thing so quickly. So the first time I started adding graphics, the ones that are in the longer form video, I thought, this is really important. I'm going to get these facts or this graphic to put in there so people can see what I'm talking about. It's much easier to know what I'm talking about if I just show you a picture while I'm talking about it. And it makes it more interesting, right? And then because, you know, my brain squirrel, all those cute little stickers, I don't know why they call them stickers, little graphics. I thought those were hilarious. What do you guys want to talk about today? I'm thinking about doing a live, doing body doubling, but I'm a little insecure because if I don't get to do a live first and talk to you guys about it, you might, and I know that depending on when I start a live, it might be totally different people logging in. But I did notice the other time I did a live that there were a bunch of people I knew that showed up. So I know that some of you will probably be popping on at some point. So I think I started talking about body doubling. It sounds incredibly boring. Basically, like for me, as an ADHD person, we have a dopamine reward based, I don't know how different it is for autistic friends, but I know that with ADHD folks, we tend to have a dopamine. Oh, that freaked me out. I'm using my happy light because it gives me better light. Oh my gosh. I think I bumped the cord. We have a dopamine. I'm afraid to finish getting ready. How silly is that? Oh, I'm still tired. I did a day in the life yesterday. And I'm so torn because I ended up with like over 2 hours of footage. And I know in that footage there are little gems, but it's so all over the place. Like my life is, apparently. And trying to get ready right now. So there's a few things that I want to do today. Yesterday was my anniversary with my fiance, and we have a couple of different dates in February because yeah, I should talk about this because I don't even know if I'm going to use anything from me talking about this yesterday. My aunt and my cousin introduced us, and we met during a Super Bowl party. So our anniversary is Super Bowl, and then each year Super Bowl's on a different date. So we never know. So we have a couple opportunities. I always forget the date, if it's the 5th or 6th. And then this year's Super Bowl is what, this weekend? I don't know. So I think we're going to spend some time together on Saturday. I don't know what we're going to do. And I don't have a whole lot of money, like no money. And he's not a big gift giver anyway. His love language is acts of service. And I've been kind of paralyzed by my mess for months and months and months because I don't know how to attack it. And body doubling is a technique for people who are neurodivergent, who have deficient dopamine. So if you find yourself tired all the time and you cannot think straight and your dopamine is really low, I want to say that ADHD is a reward-based nervous system. because when good things happen, we get the boost of dopamine, and then all of a sudden we can think straight. Whereas it's not the same as a neurotypical, which is more what's important. And to us, everything's important. So that kind of stresses, well, it stresses me out. And I can't find anything. La, 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 la. I was thinking I might come on, like Genevieve. Some of you guys are friends of Genevieve. I was thinking I might start coming on in the mornings. Let me know if you guys are interested. So I don't really know how to describe body doubling. So basically it's a hack for ADHD brains, and apparently it works. And to me, I would think that it wouldn't work because that would be incredibly boring. I would think that doing something and making it fun would make it work better. I don't know. Apparently, if you have somebody next to you, and this can be virtually as well, if you have somebody who is with you, either virtually or in the room, and they're not watching you, and they're not like supervising, and they're not involved with what you do, they're just in the room with you, doing their own thing. So it's kind of like that same principle where sometimes people will drive to the coffee shop and do their work on a laptop there because they know other people are, and it kind of gets them in that headspace. So it's taking advantage of that phenomenon, and apparently it works. One of the content creators, Nick, and I can't remember the name of his channel, and I think he's from Germany. He started a program, and it has people from all over the world on it. So you can actually sign up and then go do a body doubling anytime you want. But you have to pay for it. And not that I'm against paying for things, I'm just broke and I don't. If I can't buy food right now, if I don't have enough to pay for rent and groceries, that I can't afford that. You know, no matter how helpful or important that is to help my life. But apparently, he was desperate. He couldn't function at his job. And so he and some friends got together and they figured out how much would it cost to go to a therapist and talk about this, and maybe have a therapist help them and them all do one. And so they all split the cost. But yeah, and it worked. And he was talking about how we might not have, our brain may not work in the same way. You know how sometimes we can't seem to focus at all, and other times we'll like hyper focus for like 8 hours straight and forget to eat and drink and all of that. And we can. It's bizarre. It's sometimes when I'm interested in something and I have the right amount of awakeness and the right, usually somewhere in the afternoon, I can do that. And the more I'm interested in it, the more I want to learn about it. And it's like a dog with bone. It's like, no, I need to know more. Like a crazy person. I need to know more about this thing. Yeah. And then if you try to take me away from it, no bueno. You know, I'm like, no, I'm doing this right now. I'm sorry, I don't want to help you with that thing. I'm busy reading about anatomy facts of a neurology. I'm reading about osseous tissue. I'm reading about the chemical reaction of henna to the keratin in your hair, or whatever random thing I'm interested in. Luckily, learning about ADHD is an interest because it will help me, you know? It's a lot though. It's a lot though. One of the reasons that I started my channel was I thought I got tired of doing it by myself because it's super discouraging. And then all of my focus is on being to work on time and not getting in trouble for being late. Like I have control over it. And it just makes you feel like the biggest failure. And there's nothing you can do. Sometimes I have control over it and sometimes I don't. And that I definitely want to look up biology in the brain for, to figure out what's causing that. Because I've, even in going into that one, I found conflicting information. And I think that there isn't like necessarily a lot of new information. So I did see later on, I'll probably post this before I can actually, I don't know how to put links in the video itself, but later on, if I can find it, I will put a link in the description for the video from this woman that she helps people who are neurodivergent. And she was talking about time blindness. Now, I know from what I understand, we're not supposed to call it that anymore because of the blind community. And I'm not upset by that. I'm not upset. I want people to be understanding of us. So if they feel it takes away from their actual disability, I mean, they're physically blind. If I leave this up, Sienna, can you, if you see this, write a comment. What are your thoughts about the term time blindness? And do autistic people get that as well? I mean, I know that we both get the hyperfocus, and we both can get distracted when something's our special interest. It's like, sometimes I feel like I'm Neo in the Matrix. If it's the right time of day and I'm the right alertness and the right interest, like level of interest, it's like, I will scroll, absorb it. Just like you might as well stick a cable to my brain. And I will keep going and keep going and keep going. And then eventually, like, I have to stop. And I'm like, why do I have to stop? And then my inner self is just like, dude, you're human. You can't do that. Nobody can do that. You have limits. And I'm like, okay. I'm probably rambling. Hopefully this will be usable. It's kind of funny. The video I did the other day, I thought it was really rambly, but when I went back to look at it to take parts out, I kept finding good things in there. So I was able to make quite a few shorts. And so I'm able to schedule going out the next 3 weeks. So each week there'll be 1 or 2 shorts. So either this, or if I do another video today or tomorrow, whatever I end up talking about with you, I think it might be that magazine, because I'm kind of like annoyed. I'm just having my little personal reaction to it. I'll get over it. I'm fine. It's just annoying. You know, yeah, it annoys me a little bit. So what annoys you, you might be thinking? What is it that you're so upset about? Well, I'm not really upset. I'm just really surprised that here is this magazine, right? And they obviously take a lot of time to try to put something in a way that we won't be offended by, which I appreciate. That's nice of them. Like saying, you have traits, not deficits. You have traits, not symptoms. So, okay, a trait is not something you can just fix either. But I have questions about this because, well, that's just one of the things. That wasn't the thing that was really getting to me. That was something else. It was like how they were putting the list of symptoms or traits, you know, not being able to think straight or remember things. And they were putting it, of course, it's still written in terms of children. And this magazine's supposed to be for adults. This is a frustration. It's a little bit of a trigger because I'll be fine. I'll be over it. It's annoying. I don't know if you guys have had the same experience or if this is because I'm older and I started learning about ADHD 25 years ago, but everything that was supposed to be for adults ended up being about kids, and it just pissed me off. And I'm not really mad at anybody. I was just frustrated because it's like, dude, this was through chat. Children and adults with attention deficit disorder. I still can't believe it. They're putting it in terms of behavior. Like the person just chooses not to listen. I'm like, aren't you making this magazine to help people feel a little bit better about the things they struggle with, that they feel like their control over fixing something is really limited, and they keep feeling pressure their whole life to do, and they already don't accept that they can't do something? I almost feel like that's the definition of madness, or don't they say that? If you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. I can't make my brain neurotypical. Whatever it is that goes on in my head, like the time distortion thing. Oh, I started talking to you about this woman. She was talking about that there is a very specific part of your brain that senses the passage of time, and ours doesn't work so good. So that's a specific thing. And then I wasn't able to find information on that. So I do want to look that up. And it was a couple months ago, and I was like, well, that's interesting. And so I did a search. And when I was in school, we could use like, you know, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic as peer-reviewed sources because they are respected. They're hospitals that do training, and they're very respected. So you would think that they would only have correct information, but the material that they had was outdated. They still believed that the only thing that causes the time blindness is you being distracted. No. See, I'm thinking it's like kind of a convergence. Yes, we get distracted. Yes, our sense of time is off. So maybe like in my head, how long it takes for me to take a shower, maybe I think it takes less time than it does. And then I'm getting distracted on top of that. Plus whatever thing you can't sense a passage. It's like all going on. How do you fix something if your brain doesn't work the same? You know? To me, that feels like a symptom. I know it's neurodivergence. I know it's a neurodevelopmental condition. It's how your brain forms. It's not a disease. It's not something you can be cured of. It's part of who you are. And there's gifts that come along with it. But damn, man, this has prevented me from getting jobs. This has cost me jobs. This has cost me friendships and relationships. And it's effed up. And for someone to say that the things that we struggle with are just traits, especially when it's not really accepted, and they mention this, those traits and behaviors are not, these stated, which is true, are not acceptable by our social standards even today. Like, tell me what job is not going to get upset if you're late for work. Granted, we all need to be on time, but if you have this thing going on in your head, and then it doesn't seem to matter when you start getting ready, you mess up anyway. I mean, that's maddening in itself, 'cause I don't understand how that happens, but it does. Beats me. And I'm just tired. I'm 50. It's like, I want to get over it at this point. I don't want to spend the second part of my life. I'm middle-aged now. I mean, I don't have a lot of decades left. I want to make some choices. I want to take some pressure off of myself. I want to figure out, and I know I'm not going to be able to get the answers right away, but I want to figure out, okay, what things do I have control over? And what things don't I? And learning about the biology. See, that's why I think that that's going to be the key. at least for me, if I can understand in an anatomy and physiology standpoint why certain challenges happen, what's going on to cause it, like maybe part of your brain doesn't speak to the other part as well as a neurotypical. To me, that's a deficit. It's causing a problem in my life. I'm not offended by the word deficit. I'm not offended by the word symptom. I'm not. That's just my personal feeling. I'm not saying other people feel that way. You guys can feel however you like, because you have the right. And this is what happens when I don't know what I'm doing. I just have this like balanced. Will it work now? This is the world's worst video ever. I don't know what I'm doing, but I figure if I'm going to sit here getting ready to record something, I might as well use the opportunity to like key you into some of my thoughts. I will watch this later. Very much interested in what I'm talking about, that I can just boom, 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 really, really talk about the important topics. And then other times I can't seem to walk from one room to the other without spilling coffee on myself. It's a problem. I know you're trying to make me feel better, ADHD magazine, telling me it's a trait and not a symptom or a deficit, but let me tell you, not that I'd give up my personality, my brain. I like my quirkiness and I like my insatiable hunger for knowledge, because then I get to learn all kinds of cool stuff. But if I had a way to be on time and be able to sense a passage of time and not feel like a crazy person and not feel like I'm going to have an anxiety attack every time I try to get ready for work, I think I would do that. I'm a 50-year-old grown woman. It's not getting fixed at this point. Will it ever? I don't know. I don't know. Do you guys give yourself accommodations? Do any of you have the time blindness? I'm sorry, Sienna. I don't know what to call it. I don't have a term yet. So forgive me. Forgive me, people in the blind community. I will totally listen to suggestions if I don't have a word for it. There's one that was like time distortion, but to me, distortion is like the pull of gravity. Like when I hear distortion, I think about, you know, the diagram that you might see on the Science Channel when they're talking about Einstein's theory of relativity and when they're talking about space-time. So let's say there's a black hole or sun and they show this like graph, almost like a flat surface. It's not, but they're using it to represent. And then it's all like a grid, like all these squares. And then wherever that planet is, it kind of bends around it because of the gravity of that thing. That's what I think of when I think of time distortion, that it would be different at different times. But it's always messed up. You know, I have a new prescriber and I have to meet her because that's the rules. They have to meet you in person. I mean, I'm happy to have health insurance at all. I remember when they came out with Mass Health. They first passed a law to make it illegal for you to not have health insurance. I think they did that first. And I remember being very, very upset by it because I always ended up having, in between jobs, I'd have to get Cobra. Cobra's more expensive than paying out of pocket. How is it supposed to help you? It's like a program that's supposed to help you when you don't have health insurance. It's freaking expensive. From what I understand, and this was like 20 years ago, I think it was like hundreds of dollars a month. That's for somebody who can't buy groceries, either unemployed or underemployed or lost their job. And that's who that's supposed to be for? How are you supposed to afford that? I must look really funny. Okay, I am going to go ahead and pause this and come back. Hi again. So I lost track of time. Per the usual. Oh, can I hold this camera straight? Finished curling my hair. I think I came in here at noon. Or 12:30? It's like 1:30. Actually, I don't even know what time I came in here. Getting ready to either film something or do a live, and I'm not sure yet. So you will find out soon. See you guys soon. Bye.